That's the that comes with the Roadcaster too, by the way. That song just
Oh, so other people have this?
I've never heard it before, even though other people do have it. GM, everybody.
What up?
Hi. Hi. How's it going? Awesome to see you guys here. We're just sliding into the last hour of your Thursday and the afternoon of our Friday. So I think
no idea what time it is.
yeah, we don't know what time it is. We barely know what day it is. I was
Yep.
like, I think it's still the 29th for people. If you're on the West Coast, I know EST right now, you guys are sitting at a hot like 2 a.m. It's only 3 p.m. here in Kyoto, Japan. Our OTG live stream is here in Kyoto, Japan today. Let's go. We are so happy to be here. I won't, oh God, just that's a long fake applause there. I won't be using too much air horn today. I know if you guys are just sitting in bed
Oh, but Cheffo.
watching this, I'm specifically talking to you. It is awesome to be here again. We haven't been live since our last stream last week, which was at ETH Waterloo. We did the stream a little bit different. We actually were live, which was really, really cool. We went live for at least 4 hours for 2 days there while we were at the ETH Waterloo hackathon, which we have a lot to talk about and like update you guys about that. I'm actually going to post the Twitter space here that we just did with the Noun Square. It was so much fun. We got to talk all things ETH Waterloo, but we really wanted to take time today, just the two of us kind of sitting down with you guys and going over everything that happened there because there's so much to cover. We didn't want to take up all the airtime in that space, but we met a lot of amazing people, saw a lot of new ideas coming out of that hackathon. But of course, we aren't going to be doing any of that until we talk about why we're here. The OTG Nouns on the Air live stream is, of course, sponsored by NounsDAO. One auction every day for forever. It's so fun because at ETH Waterloo, people really knew about nouns. But of course, just like how we always do, I want to go over what NounsDAO is by kind of showing you guys the site here. Look at this amazing noun. We were just on the Noun Square where they watch the end of every single auction and start the beginning of the new nouns auction, and they chose this beautiful fir tree.
Yep.
Of course. I also want to note that I don't see many nouns heads that have like any part of the head going below the body.
Yeah, to be honest,
I didn't even know the fur did this. Did you?
I don't know much about the fur. I don't even know if I've ever seen it before.
Yeah, boots with the fur. Okay, Noun 762 already has a bid of 29 Ethereum.
They must be a Christmas tree maxi.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, well, that's a pine tree.
That's so, well, but like a fur, are they in the same family, the conifer family?
Wait, oh, the conifer family?
Mm.
Where'd you get that piece of information? I've never heard of that before.
Biology in 9th grade.
Oh, wow. Some stuff just really sticks with us throughout the years. The conifer family of trees was not something that stuck with me. Noun 762. Of course, as soon as this auction ends, it's going to go straight into the NounsDAO Treasury. Let's just give it a little check today. 28,772 Ethereum, sitting at a cool $54.1 million sitting in this treasury, ready to fund builders and creative projects everywhere. I actually think we have a lot of props since we last went. Let me see.
There's a few for sure.
Yes, because we were talking about, Nouns Fest. Dang it. We just met Nouns Fest. We're going to talk about this tomorrow as well, too. But it looks like a couple of the props that we had gone over that were active at the time have finished. I'm seeing some defeateds here. That's going to be okay. I encourage you guys, if your prop is defeated, to continue to propose and work on your ideas and reach out to more and more nouns people to try to get them passed.
We should have props come on that are like defeated.
Oh, 100%.
And give them some platform after the fact.
Yes, because Nouns Fest is one of them. And I'm just going to pull up this prop. Oh, this is so unfortunate.
You should put your Nouns Fest shirt on.
Peanut. Oh, dang it.
You want me to go get it?
No, I don't. We'll wear it tomorrow because tomorrow, as much as we're live from Kyoto today, it is the very last day of the IBS crypto event. And so we want to wait till that ends before we do a deep dive into IBS crypto, which was the event we came to Kyoto for. And we really want to talk about the history of Kyoto, Japan. It's unreal, so amazing. And just, I feel like we could do an entire episode on that. So I really want to make sure that we round out this one. But speaking of Noun Fest, we did meet the proposer behind that here. It looks like this was put up by the P Nouns.
Hmm.
We've met a couple of them here as well. So I
went
want to
run-
talk about this.
Went running with the P-Nouns today.
Yes, they're really, really awesome guys. So I'm sorry this was defeated. I'm going to come back to this tomorrow. Um, Dang, that really sucks, dude. NFT yearbook prop was canceled. Nouns Animation Kids for YouTube channel defeated, unfortunately. The Verbs team did pass, and so we have Elod and David back for another 6 months, working on dev stuff with the Nouns. I can't even begin to go into that. There's going to probably be an entire full episode about the whole fork situation within Nouns. It is fork season, I think, as Toady called it earlier in the space. That again is going to need its own show and explanation, so we can kind of do a deep dive on that, and maybe we can get someone to kind of join us to talk about that as well. It looks like Q'd staked ETH peg protection, Q'd retro fund voter. So those passed. That's awesome. And let's see some new. I think we have 5 new props here right now. The Nouns tennis fam features Nouns, Noggles, and in Grand Slams, major tennis events, and funding of upcoming athletes. Ends in 1 day. Let's see what's going on here. Does not look like that's going to pass. We, overall, I think the deeper conversation around props right now within the Noun system is going to have to do with this fork season thing that's happening. So again, we're probably going to save that for a little bit later. I do not know the proposer of the Nouns tennis fam, but we actually recently watched a documentary on Netflix. It's like a docuseries about like these famous tennis people and kind of following their stories. And it's really fascinating. And the tennis culture is massive. So I can see how Nouns being a part of that would be very good.
Well, and didn't Gamey get in Noggles on the balls at the Australian Open last year?
Yes. Yeah. And I think there was like an NFT associated with that as well. And we met the woman who was behind that at Outer Edge LA, which was amazing. So maybe we can do a little bit more research on that before we deep dive into that.
Is there a tennis head? Tennis racket
Oh my
head?
God. That's so smart.
I think that could be hard to do in pixels, but it could maybe be possible.
This next proposal, I do know the proposer behind it. This is Big Shot, Toyworks, Klim, and it's to do a expansion of a global distribution of lo-fi noggles, which are those paper noggles that we gave out not only at the Rose Bowl, but that you've been seeing on people like the Running Club. I'm sure you've seen tons of photos too. If people don't have the Nouns vision or the Motivate Me glasses, they probably are wearing the lo-fi paper noggles. I love these noggles. They are such a great takeaway
we gave them
for
out
people.
At the Rose Parade.
Yes, exactly. They're such a great takeaway for people when you're in person or IRL. And I'm excited to see that there are more for votes than against at this point in time. Let's see when the sends. Oh, we have a few days for this prop. This is great. Prop 316. I will be tweeting that out. I've also tried to retweet it as much as possible when I've seen this. I really want to support Klim and Big Shot Toyworks in any way possible. You might also know him from the big fun toy noggles that everybody also wears. Okay, 318. Ooh, Nouns game publisher changing the game. Our friend Quick Bowling Seed put up by Nouns.
Let's go.
I do see that there's against votes, but I don't think the for votes have started coming in. I think this just went live based on this date here. It looks like there's a few days left. Maybe this just went live today, actually.
People are really fast with those no votes, aren't they?
They're a little bit fast with the no votes. It is fork season. We will get to that at a different point in time. I super support that builder. And it's bringing, let me see if I can see some samples here. It's bringing all these Nounish mini games to market. Hello.
Including a Food Nouns Candy Crush with
Kitchen Crush?
Kitchen Crush, thank you. And it is live.
Oh my God, I love this. Bowling. Nouns Nation. Looks like there's a little soccer football game there. Like
Cool.
This guy is an incredible video game maker and person in general. So I really want to support him.
Video games are cool because they're like tech and art and lore, like kind of all wrapped into one. So
look at this the Nouns Runner, Nouns Run. Love this.
I like that.
I think that they were saying that the Nouns Runner game being funded like shows that this is super important for these little mini games to continue to come out. You know, we saw the Nouns animations having a huge success, the shorts, and I think like the mini games have the same type of effect, you guys. So I really, really, really want to do everything in my power to support Prop 318. Let's see, 319, Nerman.js. I think this is to fund NermanBot, who we see reposting everything that Nounish people post on Twitter, and he reposts it to Instagram and other social media platforms. This is proposed by Joel, who helped do all the Noun shorts. So we love Joel. He also is a huge part of why Nounsel is just continuing to run in such an amazing way. Again, I think this, let's see. It starts on July 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has just been proposed. This will not go live for another couple of days, which is a good thing, so that when we do like a big prop checkup, we can definitely deep dive into NermanBot. And then the last one, 320, Treasury diversification.
Oh, I haven't seen this one.
Swap 500 of wheat staked ETH.
I'm not familiar with that. What that is.
I'm not either. We're going to have to look this up. This does not go live until July 4th. Let's see. This is cool. Who's this put up by? Ooh, cronfi.eth. I'm not familiar with that proposer. Okay, let's go. Maybe they just got a name for this. This is one of those sort of big brain.
Yeah, you kind of got to dive into this one.
Yeah, lots of receipts here. We will go over that. But again, the coolest part about doing this live stream is that every single time, I'll just bring us back here. Every single time we come back here and go live, there's like a whole new slew of props that have gone up. So that's amazing. Oh my God, there's people in the chat. Who is this? Oh, welcome to Japan. Hi, guys. Oh my gosh. We are in Kyoto. We are so excited to talk about Japan and to see all of you guys here. Tomorrow's episode, we are going to do a deep dive on Japan, the event that's been here so far, and then the events that we hope to attend when we go to Tokyo next week.
Aubtoshi, I'm feeling a little thirsty after the Nouns running club this morning.
Oh my
So
gosh.
our unofficial sponsor will be a delicious Japanese green tea.
Oh, which I learned on Duolingo is ocha.
Ooh, good.
Ocha kodasai. Some green tea, please. Oh my gosh, it's so awesome to see you guys coming in from LinkedIn, YouTube. We are live with Nouns on the Air on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok sometimes. I do have the TikTok there and Insta because I want you guys to follow us on those accounts as well. But Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube are the best places to watch this, YouTube being my favorite. We are up to 180 subscribers. How exciting is that, you guys? Thank you so much for tuning in. We talk all things Noun, and we have a major focus on the culture and communities of Web3. And so every single time we gather here, there's a new city that we're in. There's a new group of people that we've met. And so it's a really special thing for us to be able to be here with you guys and to be able to cover that. We will talk about that. Maybe we talk about that now because we were just on the Noun Squarespace, and Toady had nicely reminded us that he himself, when we told him after meeting at ETH Waterloo that we do have a documentary that we're shooting. I think that when we go around the world, everyone sees us with the camera and they know this, but I think it's not been made very clear maybe to the rest of the people in our communities. So hi, Malcolm. It is awesome to see you, Malcolm's World.
What up?
Oh my gosh, what time is it for where you are? That's so crazy. You're up so early or you're either up really late. I'm not quite sure.
Time is irrelevant.
Time is irrelevant, you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Blends together.
Yes, but we are shooting a documentary, and this is so important. And I really just want to, it's such an understatement of how important this documentary will be because it has been brought to our attention and kind of through our own experiences that we know from being out there kind of on the ground that, you know, people who are doing a lot for the Nouns community aren't necessarily highlighted in a way where a lot of people are able to see what they're doing. And so hopefully with this documentary, we really want to highlight the different people that are doing things, but also like what the communities are actually putting out there. It takes a lot of effort to be out there in the field and to be talking all the time about Web3.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Toady had said something interesting about how, you know, this will be a capture of a moment in time. And, you know, all documentaries kind of do that. But in this particular case, we're capturing this moment in time within the Nouns ecosystem and within Web3 ecosystem, or at least, you know, the little slice that we see. And yeah, that really kind of like was significant for me to really realize that there is something historical about capturing moments,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, I feel super fortunate that we get to do that.
In stories. And if for anyone that's familiar with our prop, apparently it's 9 a.m. where Malcolm's World is. That's
Oh,
so
nice.
awesome. So it must be like the evening time usually
Well,
when you're
GM
watching
to
us.
you then.
Actual GM to you. And I
Yeah.
see a person, place, or thing that can be none other than Web3 Beach. It is awesome to see you here as well. In my prop, in our prop,
I would love to be on the beach
Prop
right now.
206. I know I would love to be on the beach as well. Prop 206, we do highlight that we wanted to do a docu-series, but as we've been traveling around and have become more aware of like the playing field for documentaries, docu-series, movies in general, a full-blown feature-length documentary is what you can actually submit to film festivals. And so I think there's no point in putting something out unless we can get it out there to a lot of people. And we really want to be able to submit these amazing stories and these highlightings of these communities in Web3 and within Nouns to as many people as possible. And we want to be able to submit to film festivals. And so it will be a feature length documentary about all of our experiences and going around. We've really been, we've had a great idea of how we wanted to tell this story, but it's really become clear to us that even the fact that Cheffo and I, as partners in Nouns, as partners in life, as partners in business, like we do everything together. And we've really, sacrificed the normalcies of life, like a house, kids, a pet. We don't have any of those things because we've gone out on this mission to kind of travel around, meet people, and find out what's going on, these people, places, and things, and really dive in 100% into what we're doing. And that alone is insanely unique. And we keep kind of realizing this as we go out and tell people what we're doing and to the extent of how we're doing it. And most people kind of say, like, oh my gosh, I could never do that, and that's amazing. Not everyone has to or will do this, but we have this incredible opportunity through NounsDAO and through our Prop 206 to do it. And I think that us going around and meeting people like that itself is this, little kind of macro story, but these little micro stories that are happening around us and the people that we meet and the stories they tell us. That's what this film is really about. So that's really, really, really important to us. And I think that we should do maybe like a full episode where we're kind of talking about the doc. And I do want to do like a Twitter space with the Noun Square as well. So we really want to start getting this idea out in this message that we are doing a full-blown documentary. So just like Web3 Beach, just like Malcolm's World, if we have met you out in public or if you've associated with us in any way at all, you're honestly probably going to make it in the film. Web3 Beach, of course you will be in it because you were honestly such a huge moment for me personally in the beginning. When we met in Barcelona, we were still so early in the prop. Like that was before NFT Paris, which is like the first event that I was actually going to speak at. So Barcelona was where we're kind of just networking. It was the first time out at an event with our new camera where we're like filming for this thing and we're like kind of nervous and excited, of course. But in checking in to get tickets and a press pass, which we were able to get right at that event, you out of the corner like of my eye and like I just heard this people places or things, and it literally, like, I can't even tell you how meaningful that was to me. It showed us that like we were doing the right thing and that we were exactly where we were supposed to be. And I just really want to say thank you so much for doing that. I watched back on that footage too, and you can hear you saying it and you can see the shock on my face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this really happening? Like OTG and me, like we're being recognized and people know what we've done before. Like that means that people will be interested in and know what we're going to do later. So thank you so much. Truly. It's going to be all of those really incredible spontaneous experiences that make this film really, really magical, because you can only plan so much when you do these events. You can only plan like your flights, your accommodation, the exact event you're going to go to, who you want to meet if they reach out to you and say that they're going to be there. But it's really these little moments that happen that you can't plan for, that just make it all worth it. And
Yeah, and those are definitely moments that, like you said, you can't plan for them, uh, but you can attract them. And I think that we've had a lot of amazing experiences where we've been able to attract intelligent and well-meaning people and hear them and they hear us, and we share things, whether it's physically sharing noggles or
Mm-hmm.
sharing information, contact information, or sharing upcoming ideas for props or things that
Or
could be
upcoming events.
upcoming events. Even when we were in Brazil, like we got to meet Sunny, and we will get to share that, and so I just think that there's something beautifully organic about our prop, and I think that that might be really easy for some people to understand. I think the majority of people, to be honest, and I think that some people may choose to not understand that as well. And again, it's just whatever lens you're looking through. It's whatever your perspective is on life, and I think that in a DAO environment, like, that's amazing, and we do get to we do get to kind of experience that roller coaster, because it is a roller coaster where
Mm-hmm.
there's like a lot of brains involved, there's a lot of emotions, there's Ethereum involved, like,
Yeah, there's a 3 times a week live stream.
right.
Like, you guys, there's a lot, there's a lot that happens that has to happen, but it's truly like these spontaneous moments that make it
Yeah.
amazing. And Web3 Beach also said, hold off on the kids for the culture. Yes, let's go.
Oh yeah, let's do that for sure. But honestly, like, within all of that, like, we're not. I don't know, man. Like, there's so much crazy stuff in Web3. Like, I was just reading an article about one of the major Twitter Space hosts who's potentially under investigation, and it's like crazy, dude. And like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have to, you really have to be careful, like, where you spend your time and who you
Mm-hmm.
associate with. And I just hope that, like, we are creating a safe place for people within Nouns and people within DAOs and sub DAOs to share and
Yes.
interact. And I think that is just really incredible. And I
Yeah.
feel grateful that we've been able to do that.
I was actually thinking about that today. I've been seeing a lot of tweets that, people who are a little bit more vocal in the space are saying, like, it's a tough time in Web3 right now. Like, this is sad for people, like everything that's going on with the rug pulls and just the certain, like, very loud personalities that are just doing really not great things. But I just want to remind you guys that attention goes where you put it.
Mm.
You know, if you don't like that person and what they're doing, do not join their space, even just if you're like, ooh, I want to. And I'm guilty of this as well. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to call out any specific people because,
Yeah,
again,
you
I
don't
don't want to
have- you
give
don't
them
have
more
to.
attention than they've already received. But I have been guilty of seeing someone in a space and they're controversial and they got stuff going on. And I'm like, ooh, I got to hear what's
Well,
going on
what's
next.
crazy is
But
then
you don't have to.
well, then Twitter puts the little icon that you're in the space.
Yes.
And so then people are like, oh, well, she's giving that space attention, or
Yes.
he's giving that space attention. And like that, I think that's the issue, is that,
Yes.
you don't really know why someone's listening. And it's kind of tough, because
Mhm.
you do actually want to, like, hear what's going on first person. You don't want to always get like the sensationalized tweet after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're very correct that the second that you do that, you are adding to someone's algorithm. You're adding to their views. You're potentially
you're
setting
sitting-
yourself up to be misunderstood.
Well, in a digital world, you're still physically sitting in their space. You can be on the couch at home, and if you're in that person's space, you are joining, like, their physical space. You're in their orb. Like, you're drawing more attention to it. Like,
Well, that's why the Noun
know.
Square really is, pretty much like at the top of the heap when it comes to that good content. And
Oh,
there was
yeah.
there was a
I'll get that space
a
posted here for
gentleman
you
in there
guys.
today who was talking about a project that just minted out and to raise money for I believe it's a father and son in Syria to buy passports. And that was fascinating. That's a fascinating conversation. Obviously, like, there's a lot of geopolitical things involved when you start talking about parts of the world that are experiencing, totalitarian regimes and violence against their own people and all of this. It's horribly sad, and to hear positive stories, and then
Mm-hmm.
to be like in a group that gives those positive stories a voice is spectacular. And so,
Yes.
I think Nouns should be super proud of themselves for all the vibes. I mean, I think, if you ask uh if you ask a lot of people in the DAO, like, what is NounsDAO, you're going to get a lot of different answers,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to get answers that have like layers to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, none of it really matters unless there's great vibes. And like, I
Oh my
think we
gosh,
just need
that's
to
all that
be
matters.
like pretty honest and clear about that. Like, yes, this is technology, and yes, it's built on these incredible code stacks, and
Mm-hmm.
yes, we're funding technology, and yes, we're donating to Ethereum foundations and all of these things, and really amazing technology that allows for all this to happen. But beyond that, like, we are people. We're not robots. And
Mm-hmm.
and if you're a person and you want to be mentally healthy, then you need to do things to create that space for yourself and your loved
Mm-hmm.
ones. And I'm just really proud of many different teams in the space. Like, if you look at the team that's doing all the ETH Global events,
Mm-hmm.
what do they? They're not the Nouns Fair, but what do they?
NounsDAO amigos.
Oh, it is NounsDAO Amigos,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. I mean, it's incredible. They created an entire vibe at ETH Waterloo, and we talked about that today on the space. And I
I
think
did post that space
yeah.
link here just in case you guys missed it. I did see you in there, Web3 Beach. But if you guys didn't hear it, you should listen back. It was a really fun, of course, like anytime like the group of us from like old school Nano Clock days gets together, it's a riot. It's so much fun. We can't help it. We all miss each other and we're just big jokesters. But there was a huge discussion about community and why community is really important. And I really want everybody to start being disciplined. I of course I want this. I'm not saying do this. Like everyone's free to do what they want, but
You're so bossy,
I
Aubtoshi.
really want people to want to go to those spaces. I want them to sit in those spaces. I want people to, when they see the little purple ring around your PFP and they know that you're in a Twitter space, that when
Yeah.
they go to it, it's not because you're just like listening to the controversy. And again, I'm guilty of this as well. That's why I love reality TV.
You
But
do.
on Twitter spaces, it's different. Like we should be sitting in spaces and promoting the good guys, like the really great communities that are showing us what it means to be in Web3 and why we are in it. Otherwise, it's going to feel like this hopeless, dire situation.
Well, and it also feels like a ping pong ball,
Mhm.
just like bouncing from this project to this founder to that founder to this rug to that pull and whatever it is, and one of the things that some groups or this particular person who does have a company behind them is getting heat for right now is using fake accounts
Mhm.
to like bump numbers and stuff like that. And you don't get any of that in
Mhm.
Nouns, and that's not the goal.
Mhm.
Like, yes, okay, people want numbers, people need numbers to justify things for some people, but at the end of the day, like, you're not seeing manipulation tactics. And
Mhm.
I think that that's also like a really good sign for the health of this particular ecosystem. And for me, especially with the Now anniversary coming up, we also have the Food Now anniversary coming up August 5th.
Yay.
We're going to start working on some great stuff for that. But for me, I think that it's really fascinating to see where everything has evolved to at this point, and I can't really imagine like where that'll be a year from now or 2 years from now. And I think with proliferation and even someone said like nouns should only fund animations, and like dude, they're, that's a great theory. Like, I love that theory. And I think I fully understand, what that person is thinking within that. I don't personally agree with that. But, I am very much looking forward to these days where like the views within nouns just like exponentially goes up, because
Yes.
these things will continue to take off, and they're building blocks, and you don't see a lot of building blocks. Like if you look at what happened with the Zookies, like like that is a very strong community, lots of Ethereum involved in that community.
Yes.
They have nice artwork and all of these things, but like they're even kind of getting pushback about some of the building blocks that they chose to take in this last round. And so I feel super fortunate that the building blocks that you see within nouns are transparent, they're diverse, they're global, they range from zero point zero 0.01 ETH to 50 ETH. They really, nouns encompasses more than one thing within Web3 and is able to achieve many different goals like all at the same time. And like that has never been done before. And I do think that you're going to start to see people kind of picking up on that and trying to mimic it with their own platforms and apps and smart contracts. But nouns is so far ahead. It's not even, I don't know, it's not even very comparable. And we'll talk more about it, but like, even coming to places like Japan, which are very advanced and
Yes.
striving to understand this technology within their own world and within their own set of laws and cultural norms, nouns is so far advanced. And we, I think, kind of we go on the Twitter Spaces and Robot Fish Girls, joking it up, and Toadie's got dad jokes that he keeps pulling out of his cardigan, and you're just like, what is happening here? How is this real? Like, how is there this
happiness and this joy?
Yeah, and this like camaraderie and tone. And frankly, it's all happening like there were no founders in the space today. You know what I mean? Like these things are happening with regular people in the ecosystem. I think, in the room today, there might have been one or two noun holders, but literally no one else in the room has an actual noun NFT.
Well, Ugly DAO has two.
Ugly DAO has two,
and
for
I want
sure.
to keep getting it. I want to, like, every single time someone asks me if I have a noun, I really want to get in the habit of saying yes.
Yes,
I'm in a
absolutely.
group that has two nouns.
Yes.
But I think too, like with everything you're saying about content creation, I would rather have an authentic, slower start than pumping numbers with bots or something like that's not real. And I do know that it can be so tempting to do that, because let's say that this person that we're not going to name has 4,000 bots in the space, and now they have 200,000 people in the space because of those initial 4,000. I get it. I get that the temptation to prop yourself up a little bit, and then real people do come. But there's something authentic about, even with our live stream, like our same awesome people kind of come here, but that's going to really pay off one day. Like we are on episode 30 right now, our 30th live stream. You guys have watched us bring this thing together live with you guys, making mistakes in front of you guys, with you guys, sound being weird, the picture not going up, and doing interviews. Like it's amazing. And now we have 180 subscribers, and I can confidently say that I have met in person and have talked with about like our mission with every single one of those 180 people. And that is so much more meaningful to me. And I know it's going to be meaningful later on, no matter how much this channel grows, as it being like this authentic beginning stage. And truly you guys that hang out with us here on the stream now, hopefully get to watch that happen with us, and who knows which stream or which clip or something might end up like popping off or something, and we grow a little bit faster at some point. But it's really going to be that initial 180. I will never forget you guys, like, for helping us get to that point. Just the same way that Web3 Beach, in Barcelona has said people, places, and things to me. Like, it's going to stick with something. The content creation, the hardest part is pushing play. the hardest part is throwing yourself out there unapologetically and just like being yourself and talking
You
about these
know,
things. And the reason that we do that is because we really believe in the project that we're a part of. We really believe in ourselves, and we really believe in what we're bringing forth into this ecosystem, not just through NounsDAO, but through Web3 as a whole, in the stories that we want to tell. Because at the end of the day, we won't be in a situation probably for very long where we're all just in the room with each other and getting to have these intimate experiences. More people are going to come into Web3. Of course, everyone's like hooked on this idea of like, how does that happen? Where does mass adoption happen? But what everyone's missing is that it will happen. So where are you going to be when that happens? What kind of content will you have put out there for people to view when that happens if you're a content creator? And of course, not everybody is, but someone like Malcolm's World, who does create content, I'm seeing here in the comments that you guys, OTG has spread the nouns culture to unbelievable spaces and places. Thank you so much. I really, really love you for saying that.
just getting started.
He says in Africa, after our OTG expedition, we got quite a number of people intrigued in the NounsDAO universe.
Cool.
They actually want to join and partner with OTG now. And this documentary, I believe, will inspire more. And I couldn't agree more with you. And it's because Cheffo and I are out there just putting ourselves out there, talking for hours on end with people IRL and on the stream. And I know that somewhere in there, I'm hoping that if someone discovers Web3 for the first time, maybe some statement we make about a person or a place or a thing is one of the tools that they have in educating themselves during that whole doing your own research part when you learn about something new. So that's why we're doing it.
You even have brought your mom and your dad to
Yes.
this world via the stream. You know,
Yes, I know. My parents.
That's amazing.
Oh, this is amazing. I wonder what time it is. Okay, so if it was nearly midnight in the West Coast. Okay, so they're in Hawaii. So it's probably like 9 p.m. over there. It's the evening. Hi, you guys, if you're watching. But truly, I get texts from them later saying, hey, I loved the stream. And so they're learning about Web3 and they're not crypto native individuals, and getting to watch them learn about nouns and like learning about Web3 through our discussions about NounsDAO, because we truly are using nouns as this amazing platform of something we believe in, like technology being on the Ethereum blockchain, DAOs. We're using the example of what nouns has provided as a way to talk about these like larger Web3 things, and it's teaching them. And so like if my parents are learning, you know, your parents can learn, your neighbors can learn, your kids can learn. Like,
well, the interesting thing is that like learning about a DAO is not that hard, right? And like reading a proposal, it's not that hard. Coming up with an idea, yes, that can be a challenge or whatever. Or, you know, I think the hard part with idea creation is sharing your idea and then making it like actionable. At the end of the day, though, the hard part, and again, we don't think it's hard, but the hard part is setting up a wallet, you know, connecting it to your bank, getting some ETH, figuring out how to connect wallets, buying things, making it through your first however long without, you know, clicking links or getting rugged or whatever it may be. And, you know, maintaining like a curiosity throughout that process. I mean, I think that's the hard part. And so, you know, when we're out there talking about stuff like,
well, and feeling safe to do so.
yeah,
You know, when you're setting up your first wallet, we might not remember that, but it was a pretty scary feeling.
you know,
like
maybe
every
we
step you
should
take.
maybe we should do something where we do like a, you know, make your first wallet meetup.
We should do that. And I was also just
That could
in
be
that
cool.
moment thinking about Ronnie, another person who watches our stream. Hi, Ronnie, if you're seeing this at a later point in time. But he had actually asked on the last live stream if we could do a video that was about the proposal process and really taking someone through the entire process. And there is enough open rounds on Prop House right now for us to kind of do that. So maybe we can just
Yeah,
do a
we could
prop
also
live one
do
day.
it in food nouns.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, we could do a prop start to finish.
Speaking of food nouns, I think we have a food nouner here.
What up,
Wiley,
Wiley?
what's up? Stop by Kobe University. They do cool indoor farming research. I love that.
I would love to go to Kobe. At one point in time, I was a large, if not one of the largest Japanese Wagyu beef salesmen in the United States. And to this day was such an incredible experience. And oftentimes it's called,
How'd you get into that? Oh, but before you do
Yeah.
that, Ocha Godasai.
Would you like some of my ocha?
That means green tea, please.
Ah, well, that's okay, Aubtoshi, because I also have another unofficial sponsor for the day. Our water sponsor. We have our Ocha sponsor, but now we have our water sponsor, Acai. And this is a natural mineral water. This is not
Acai, the beer company?
this is not an ad, but it certainly could be. You know, I don't know if this is the beer company. I'm going to say probably not.
It looks like the same logo.
Who knows? It's delicious water.
You know, me and Cheffo are on a health kick.
That's right.
We haven't been drinking.
What did I do this morning? Tell everybody what I did
Cheffo
this
did
morning.
a 4K run with the Nouns Running Club,
Crushed
which was
it.
amazing. Crushed.
Crushed it, bro.
We've been feeling like, you know, we do have like so much that we have to do with all the coordinating and stuff too. But everyone, there's nothing wrong with drinking, but everyone's got to have that like little break that they do. But we've really been enjoying the benefits of kind of just drinking water and green tea. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it lets me take my early bedtime even earlier.
And we had to like adjust to Japanese time. Like for the last 2 days, like we wake up at basically 2 a.m. So
I
we
love
like
it.
go to bed early. We wake up at 2 a.m. I've been like walking around the neighborhoods and going to like the neighboring temples. We are right near, of course, I don't want to go like too much into this because we do want to do like our Japan Kyoto episode tomorrow. But I've been going to like these neighboring temples and like taking photos at 3
Of
4 in
cats.
the morning. Yes, I'm becoming an animal.
She's not a
photographer.
cat lady.
Animal.
But my
Animals
goodness,
are, like,
if
the
there
best.
if there's a cat, that lens is just bam, right there. Cats and birds.
Yeah,
Which is interesting. Cats and birds, they're kind of like nemesis.
not
They're
really. Well, I don't think a crane is afraid of a cat, but I'm finding that animals are like, because I don't mind shooting an animal. It's harder when you're like with a lens in the face of like a
Does
person.
does that mean you're like nervous when you shoot people?
I'm getting less nervous when shooting
Yeah.
people, but you know, being able to kind of walk around at that time has been incredible. And we're just learning, you know, I think that's been the greatest part about it too,
Yeah.
of like, we're constantly like pushing ourselves to keep expanding our repertoire of
Ooh,
things that
French.
we are a part of in our like personal hobbies that we love. And it's so funny because we did have to kind of explain this or say it out loud, maybe just for ourselves or maybe just for myself when I said it out loud. But we did get the chance after ETH Waterloo in Toronto to meet a few of the Nouners and Nounders. And, you know, we were kind of momentarily talking about us as partners and, you know, giving up normalcies of life to be Nounish and to go around and travel and stuff too. And I lost my train of thought of why I was saying that. But it'll come back to me.
Will it?
Something about the oh yes, it came back. Oh,
See, there you go.
the importance of like I had to like say it out loud. I'm like, oh, but we talk about other things like that isn't just nouns. Like we have other hobbies. Like it's a great reminder that we are all connected through Web3, whatever that means to you, in whatever way you're involved in this industry in this world. But we are people that
Yeah.
have hobbies and,
Well,
and
again,
interests.
that's my theory. Other people's theory, like the sub-communities matter
Mm-hmm.
for this reason. Like
Yes.
Nouns is amazing. There's a big treasury.
Ooh, Wiley, you're gonna love
There's
this.
a huge future, but it's, you know, the sub-communities also add this vibrancy and this, you know, like, I don't know. It's,
Well, of course,
it's
like
very important.
when you say sub communities,
Yep.
always like we meet so many of them, but food nouns always comes to mind first. But Wiley, like honestly,
Are you hungry?
every single time we go around and meet people, we are shocked by the people that we're like, oh, this is Cheffo. He's
Oh,
the
yeah.
founder of Food Nouns, and they're like, I have food nouns. I know, and it's like what? Like today, even we got connected to someone who we're gonna meet up with next week in Tokyo. And I had just followed him on Twitter. We had just connected. He's like, I can't wait to show you around. There's cool food. I'm like, we love food. Cheffo does food nouns. And he's like, I know, I have 4 of them, and sent me a screenshot of his wallet with 4 food nouns in it. And it's like, food nouns is for me like this sleeper of a sub community. And I don't even see issues with it right now too. Like the only issue truly is that there's not enough funding in the Treasury right now. But that is totally going to happen because the amount of support that I have seen on a level of people that own food nouns, believe in the mission of food nouns. Like when we were in Brazil, the mural that we painted has the food nouns logo on it. And the Brazilians love food nouns. Nouns in Rio is one of the food nouns whales.
Look out.
We came here to Japan. People have food nouns. We had no idea. We met random people in New York, like everywhere that we go, like people have
Paris,
food nouns.
London.
Yeah. Oh, Wiley just said big nouns going to deposit 100 ETH in the food nouns treasury. This is actually another thing that we've been talking about as we meet these other communities, such as NounsDAO Japan, Nouns BR. It would be epic to do a sub community prop
Yeah.
with everybody and say, hey, these are the 5 or 6 or however many that are like really these groups that are like really putting the effort in to operate, have the auction, have the DAO treasury, they're decentralized.
Yeah.
Each should get 100 ETH
You know,
because look what
I've given more
everyone's done
thought
with
to
like
that.
such micro, like every single sub community has been dealing with the same thing that Food Nouns has been dealing with, and it's managing micro funding and seeing what projects come out of that. Dude, look what we've done with like almost nothing. And of course, I don't want to like diminish the amount of money that's gone out. But compared to the big DAO, as you call them, or big nouns, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
The the projects and the people and the effort is insane. It's monumental compared to the amount that's been funded to them. Imagine what each sub community could do with 100 ETH each.
Dude, Wiley's about to like open
Incredible.
greenhouses and grow food vertically. And like,
Yes.
you know, we get to be a part of that. Like, I mean, I have given a lot of thought to this, obviously, and I understand all sides. And when we were in Toronto, sitting in this beautiful park, it was Pride Day. There was all this wonderful things going on. There's tons of people. I think 1 million people came in to town that weekend for the celebration. But you know, we were under these trees, sitting on the grass with a few nounders, a couple major noun holders, and having, like, I think honestly some of the most intellectual conversations that I've heard of happening in person in a while. And I wholeheartedly said, I think that one of the things that needs to happen is some type of omnibus funding thing. You know, and there was some conversation around that, and then we kept talking about all sorts of other things. I think at the end of the day, you know, one of the things that will happen when that happens is there will be kind of like people will say, oh, well, what about this community? Or how come this community didn't get involved into that funding? And my answer to that, I think at this point is, you know, there will need to be a lot of like work done ahead of time to make sure that something like that is done correctly. But at the end of the day, like, there might be a group that gets missed, or there might be a group that just we don't know about yet. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that that's just something that will happen. And I think that at the end of the day, we can still move forward with funding sub communities as like a proof of concept and as an experiment. You know, we are all here experimenting.
Not even a proof of concept, to be honest. You know, we love NounsDAO. I love and believe in Gami. I love and believe in the people that are in NARS. They were funded initially 69 ETH to their treasury. They were like the first time that's ever happened. That was a long, I'll try to find the prop number so you guys can actually look at it. But I really like, the more we meet communities, the more we talk about this omnibus funding. I love that, by the way, that word. I really almost like, I want OTG to be part of that. Like, where we can offer help is that we've done props. We've done on-chain. I've had 3 successful on-chain props. I really want OTG to almost be like the gatherer of the sub communities. I really want to have the sub communities coming on the live stream. I want to continue to highlight them in this same event you're talking about in Toronto, sitting at the park. While we were walking there, I was like, oh my gosh, the NounsDAO Amigos community and the Nouns Fair. And I was talking about NounsDAO Brazil and like the different sub communities. And the Nouners that were there, and the Nouners like, oh, really? They did that? And it's like, what? Yes, they've done that. And like, I feel like I've been tweeting nonstop and doing all this stuff, but it just shows like there has to be this format for things to be seen. And within NounsDAO, the most serious voters are getting all of their information from on-chain props. And it's almost like a big sub-community on-chain prop went up that really highlighted, like, every single subcommunity that we've
I'm
just
gonna
talked
start
about right
writing
now.
this prop up.
Yes, dude. Every subcommunity we're talking about right now, we can talk about here's the exact props that have been funded. Here's the exact prop houses that have been funded. Here's the videos. Here's the images. Like it could be this amazing on-chain prop that like is the on-chain prop of all on-chain props.
It should be for like 2,000 ETH.
Yes, and like distributed amongst these communities. And
Yeah.
and if we start working on this right now, because we really want to, like it's so important to us to highlight this.
It should
Our-
actually set a record for the biggest prop funding.
Well, that's an incredible feat, of course, to accomplish. But our documentary, I'm telling you guys right now, is mostly the subcommunities because
Yeah.
they're the people that are actually out there doing things. Like,
Well, and a lot of like we can't like
I'm gonna
believe
find
me,
this
like
nice
I
prop.
mean, Aubtoshi had her photo camera taking nice pictures. I took some nice pictures when we were walking around in Toronto, but it's like I can't turn the camera towards certain people because they're not doxxed, and I'm respectful of that, and I understand that that's just not how they have their life set up currently, and I think Nouns is respectful of that. I think that
Oh, here we go. Prop 51, guys. I'm going to post it here in the chat. This
Yeah.
is the initial NARS prop, okay?
there
They
was
got
also
funded. It's
Brazil.
proof that
Brazil
it can
got
happen.
funded as well.
Yes, Brazil to get funded. Okay, even here, someone in the chat, I would love to. I sincerely look forward to meeting you two in Tokyo. I would love to present you guys with P-Nouns, Noggles, and T-shirts. This is exactly what we're talking about.
What up, P-Nouns?
Hello, P-Nouns.
I want to get a P-Noun and give some food nouns. Like I really like.
That's what I'm saying.
their
Like
vibe.
food nouns, P-Nouns, NARS, the OTG activations that are
NounsDAO
happening because of
Amigos.
Malcolm's World, NounsDAO Amigos, and I'm not purposely missing any subcommunities right
Yeah.
now. Of course,
This
like,
is what I'm talking about. It's going to
Yeah.
take work, and it's gonna
Yes.
it's gonna be this thing where it's like,
but you guys are the ones
Yeah.
that are going to be in the documentary. When people think about Nouns, when this movie comes out, they're going to think about you guys. You know, and
Yeah.
like because it's a whole different ball game when you're talking about like, oh, onboarding a new holder of a nouns. Like, I don't know about you guys, but we can't go out there right now and spend 30 ETH on a noun. But we are involved with nouns because
I'll be right
we
back,
really
Aubtoshi. I'm going to go spend 30 ETH on a noun.
I was like, what? Where are you going? No, but we are involved in because of nouns, like because we believe in the project, we believe in the technology, and we don't necessarily have to purchase one to participate, which is
Yeah.
the whole point. I've never had to purchase a noun to put my prop on chain, like, and we're doing so much. We
Well,
have a
put it this
live
way,
stream
if-
talking about nouns, like.
I mean, I'll look here on my computer while we're
Yeah, go
talking.
ahead, of
Then
course.
I'll make this point here in a second. Give me a second.
Yes, but this is what I mean. These events,
Freaking
you
thing died.
guys,
Never mind.
the subcommunities, we are a huge reason that anyone knows what a noun is right now.
Well, think about it. Like, if there were no subcommunities, then how many noun holders are? Maybe you can find that, or we don't want to mess the stream
Yeah.
up. But like, I don't know what it is. A couple hundred at most.
Unique ones.
Unique ones, and I think that you see that slightly higher proportional number because they are expensive, and so you don't get a lot of people that have like 20 of them or more, but you do get like individual holders, people with 2, people with 3, and I think that that's great, and I think that's just like a natural phenomenon that's happened. But if you were to take the sub communities out of the conversation, it would be 200 people talking to themselves.
And what would be the point of having this technology or launching this animations or doing any of it if there's no one talking about it?
Right.
You know, and I do know that the sub communities are the mouthpiece of the big nouns, you know, like
Yeah.
it's the reason people are even having any concept. P nouns in their noggles, you know, motivate me with his, nouns vision with theirs, food nouns just probably have their own like version of noggles. Like it's like someone like, okay, I guess the perfect example, like in us having this recap about ETH Waterloo is NounsDAO Amigos right now.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
the most recent example. But at ETH Waterloo, NounsDAO Amigos came and set up the Noun Fair. And it was this booth activation area that was happening right in the center of the entire hackathon. And so you had your sponsors on the outside, if you could imagine just a big rectangular room. All the outer edges are different sponsors sitting there in a table and chairs. You had to go up to the sponsor booths to like get a t-shirt or talk to them about what their project was. The entire middle area is tables and tables and tables and chairs where all the hackers are sitting with each other and like hacking. And then right in the center was the Nouns Fair, and it was a literal fair, actually. That the Nouns Fair is the perfect
Well, there
words
weren't
to
like
describe it.
there wasn't like a petting zoo.
No, but it is the place that you went to like take a break from hacking, or
Yeah.
you had to walk through it to get to the food. Everyone passed through this thing at least
Vitalik
one
ate
time.
his lunch there.
We were there doing the live stream. Again, check out the channel, you guys. There were 2 different live streams where we were live for like 4.5 to 5 hours each day there, bringing in new guests. People were coming there. They were holding a bounty for people who were using nouns as artwork or for good public goods protocol. And because of that, people were actually building their hacks and then using noun stuff.
Yeah.
So imagine for 1 second that the Nouns Fair wasn't there. Imagine for 1 second NounsDAO Amigos wasn't there. And imagine for another 1 second that OTG live interviews weren't there and there were no nouns, anything. Of course, the event would have gone on, but there would be no representation there and like no further proliferation of nouns. The only thing that matters right now is the proliferation
Yes.
through the efforts of subcommunities and groups and projects and people who are dedicating their time in their little communities and doing stuff. Because the thing about nouns is that it is so broad. Like the CC0 thing means it can be applied to anything. So the subcommunities defining what it means to them, these niches, food nouns, hey, we do food. You know, NounsDAO Amigos, hey, we do it for our people in our area. NounsDAO Japan, hey, we're bringing nouns to Japan, this entire country. Like
Running Club is literally
yes.
setting themselves up all over the world.
For runners, then the subcommunities and sub projects within nouns are defining what nounish means.
Correct.
They're defining what nouns is.
Correct.
Every
And
time
it's not
you see a Noggles.
it's not a smart contract. It's
Well, for a lot of people
it's
who
people.
aren't thinking about that, yeah, you're correct. It's not a smart contract. That would not be the very first thing that people think of. Of course, hackers and Ethereum maxis, that's what they're thinking. Anyone that's been in crypto for years or potentially a decade or more, that's probably what they're thinking. They're thinking from the DAO side. But most people that we meet are thinking of this image or this idea that has essentially come out of learning something from one of the subcommunities.
You know, it's
Wiley, I did see your thing earlier. ETH Chicago happening in September.
I saw that.
We would love to go there. Our only event in September. So we have a massive event. We have Burning Man at the end of August. It leads into the very first few days of September. That is like our last of our major events on our list. But for that reason, I only have one single event, and that is an AI summit in Austin, Texas in September. So I know that ETH Chicago is happening, and I also know that ETH New York is happening. Since we are in the States in September, I think it would be fantastic to go to both and to bring the live stream there to both. If you're going to be there in Chicago, oh my goodness, that would be incredible. Are you in Chicago? Did you know if Wiley's in Chicago?
I think so.
That's amazing.
ETH Chicago, September 15th through 17th.
Wait, let me look up. Hold on.
Jot down.
Let me look up this AI summit and when that is, because okay, great. The AI summit is September 20th to the 21st. So maybe we can come to Chicago first for that.
Okay.
Al from Little Nouns, very involved in Little Nouns, is also in Chicago and asked me if I was going to go to that one. That would be incredible. Let me also check out ETH New York. Oh, ETH. I know that it's in September because there's like 2 ETH global events. Ooh, the 22nd to the 24th. So we could basically go from Chicago to Austin to New York and should totally do that.
That's a tough trip, but yeah, we'll figure that one out.
He's like, after Burning Man, Cheffo is going to be literally burned out. But
actually, no. Cheffo, after Burning Man, is going to take a long, hot shower.
Oh, Wiley has been talking to Al.
Move on.
Okay. Oh, you're trying to make a sailboat party happen. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
okay.
A what?
A sailboat party.
Oh, geez. Wow.
September might be a little late for Chicago.
You're the Chicago girl.
I've spent some time there. I spent like
a
a couple years there. I don't know if it's going to be cold by that time, but that would be freaking awesome. There is this whole part in Chicago. Have you been before?
Yes, I've been to Chicago.
Oh, we went together.
We went to Chicago together.
Oh, by accident. We had like a layover, like our flight got delayed, and then they just like had no other flights for 3 days, and we were stuck in Chicago for 3 days.
That's where we had the
But it was cold.
The best cheesesteak. The Chicago. Remember we got the cheesesteaks? We went to that late and the grandma yelled at you.
Yes. The Italian area.
The Italian.
Yeah, the
like,
grandma yelled at, I was like filming
beef
with my
and
phone.
cheese. Or I forget what they call it, but it was like
That grandma yelled at you. It's so funny.
stunning, dude.
Okay, but there's this whole area too that we didn't really get to see on the lake, but in the nice months of the weather, like it's the playa, and it's like all of the boats, and just tons of boats are there, all just parked, not doing anything, and like hanging out and partying. It would be so freaking cool if we were able to do that for East Chicago.
That would be cool.
That would be. Oh yeah. Web3 Beach says, what is the current food noun? Canned ham.
Canned ham.
Yes. Hello. That is a shout out. That's actually an original Nouns head. So that didn't come from us, but the spam musubi, also a cooked version of canned ham, did come from Cheffo. That's one of Cheffo's original creations. But we would love to go there.
You had a spam musubi the other day.
I have one right now in the refrigerator.
See?
Japanese people, my people.
They're your people.
My peeps. Very similar to Hawaii. That's why I love spam musubi, because my family's in Hawaii. But there's a lot of like similarities going on there. And there's a huge, massive Japanese community and Japanese tourism that happens in Hawaii as well too. But I digress. Subcommunities. Yes, we need to do this. Hopefully I'm going to now definitely put that on my radar, that we'll add 2 new events. But I think like ETH Waterloo was not even on our OTG calendar. It was actually the exact same weekend supposed to be NFT Toronto, which was going to be more of like a hype NFT event that ended up getting canceled and I guess postponed indefinitely. I love the person that was going to be throwing it. They were also a Nouns holder. They are no longer a Nouns holder. I still believe that this person is fantastic and will do great things. But because of that cancellation, we had that weekend open and went to ETH Waterloo. But the whole point being, you know, it's events like that that are really incredible. I did not have hackathons essentially on my calendar. And one of the Nounders, the Conehead 99, had actually like mentioned that to me when I was doing my prop originally. And he said, well, don't you think that there should be more hackathon events? And I had responded to him thinking like, hey, I totally agree. Now should be a hackathons, but I don't think I'm the best representative for that because I can't program. No.
Could he come on? Like he could put a cone over his head.
He could maybe come on
with like little holes in a cone.
That very possible with Snapchat filters and because of everything that Coral Orca has been doing with 3D Nouns. But I had responded saying I don't think I'm the best representative of that because I don't program or hack. I couldn't have been more wrong. And I can't wait to like message him and say that. Like I was completely off base when I said that. Us having the live stream there was our talent. That was what we brought to the table. Hackers were able to sit down and share their projects with us. Like we were able to highlight the event itself, which is essentially like, you know, boosting it to maybe perhaps a new audience, like being a voice or a platform for someone to sit down and share. Like that is what we offer and bring to the table. We don't necessarily have to hack, right? So I do agree with ETH Global probably being one of my favorite events that we've done so far, even though it was a much smaller, intimate event. But the ideas that came out of that event alone are going to change the way that we know crypto and Web3. And I think that it would be an honor and a privilege to get to attend ETH New York and ETH Chicago in the same month, and hopefully bring the stream there so that other people can meet. And anyone talking about ETH Chicago right here, Wiley, I'm talking about you. If we do see you there and we do go, you owe me an interview. I don't know if you're like docs. I do know that you have like your normal face with noggles on it. You can wear noggles on the live stream, but I would love to do that. And I really encourage people who are involved in any of the subcommunities or in Nouns at all to be brave enough to sit down and talk about what they do, because, you know, people need to know. There can never be enough information about this. There can never be enough sharing about this. And for every time that we like put someone on the platform and share, there's going to be a person that still doesn't watch it. Right. So like we got to keep putting out this content. You guys are doing a conference and a hackathon and skate jam downtown.
Sick, dude. Let's
freaking go. I love that. GM Boss J Crypto TV, by the way, thank you so much for joining the live stream. Filipino Nouns.
Amazing.
Let's go. That's my actual people. A lot of people don't know this and a lot of people don't believe me, but my family's actually in Hawaii because I'm 50% Filipino. Thank you so much for joining us. How fitting that we're talking about subcommunities. We can't forget about the Filipino Nouns. This is exactly what I'm talking about for this new prop. I am determined for this sub community prop to happen. We really should all maybe make like a group chat or something where we can like really hash out this idea.
Yeah, it's going to take some work.
It's going to take work because how do you highlight in one prop all these things? I have some ideas, but I feel like the OTG prop was an example of what we can do with like numbers and the amount of scheduling and planning that we could do. Maybe like each sub community makes an offer of like 2 events that they're going to do or 2 like activations that will immediately happen upon passing of the prop or something. And then the rest of it will go into their treasury. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, but I think like us all coming together and discussing it is going to be the first step of many. But I really see this happening, and I really think that this prop should be the first prop that goes up after this fork, this imminent fork happens within Nouns. And I think it's going to be what the community definitely needs.
You know, one thing, it could be interesting to do that in a way where there were these like events predetermined, that kind of thing. But you know, I think that we will ultimately, you know, maybe need to experiment with like streaming funds and like meeting goals along the way. And I think that we'll also need to experiment with like some serious multi-sigs. And I think that could be an opportunity to get nouners on those multi-sigs so that, you know, if something is not working out, then it can be dialed back and it can be, you know, slowed down, or it could be ramped up.
You know, which is another crazy
just as
idea.
a way to introduce big nouns to all the other nouns. And
Well, I was going to say too, like this could be too crazy, but I love going above and beyond.
You're
okay.
You're
But here's what I'm
crazy?
thinking. Another ask could be, you know, what we've heard so far about the fork is that, okay, this, I don't want to get too complicated, but there's a potential fork happening with the nouns. You either know about it or you don't know about it. We can have a whole discussion about it later.
Well, I think
But
to be
the
more
simplest-
specifically, there's code coming in the next code updates.
Well, that's too complicated.
that will allow for a fork. It's not a guaranteed fork.
I pretty much think it's going to happen.
It's
At
not.
some point, at some point in time, it will happen. So let's pretend it happens.
Okay.
If any nouns that leave the original OG nouns and fork off to a new nouns treasury, they take their tokens with them, but their original noun tokens are returned. And one of the discussion to the treasury, one of the discussions happening with the people who are kind of in the know about this fork and talking about it is like, well, what happens to those nouns?
Right.
It would be incredible if nouns, they don't even have to be given to, they can be delegated. There should be one noun delegated to these subcommunities that are on the prop. That way we show that not only is Ethereum going to be going into these subcommunities DAOs, but these subcommunities also are now going to get to have a vote. They get to vote with reason within the big nouns. I'm just saying that could be a really cool use case for these returned nouns. And like what we're talking about here, like imagine we have 10 subcommunities on the props, it's 10 delegated nouns. You know, like that's not freaking crazy. I've heard crazier. Some people are delegated 20 nouns.
Or even 2 per community, and then communities could start putting props on chain and nouns.
Yeah.
I think that would freak people out.
Yeah.
But like,
but that's cool. But who cares? Like,
I don't know. Like that's kind of the point, to like think outside the box.
Well, and it gives
like push
it gives the subcommunities finally a voice in the big nouns DAO and keeps that bridge that connects them, which should be there anyways, because they are connected. All the subcommunities are talking about nouns. Like when we talk about food nouns, for example, we always talk about nouns. We forked from nouns.
Yeah.
You know, nouns Brazil forked from food nouns that forked from nouns.
Yeah.
You know, like we are already connected, but having that like definitive bridge of being like, well, we also vote in nouns, and like showing that, you know, the perfect example of this is Bud Light. They have thousands of holders for the Bud Light Next token, and they vote every single prop.
You know, they were the
noun.
first on the game prop from Quick. They were the first yes vote.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. It came from Bud Light. Shout out Bud Light for doing that. I think that was really telling, smart. I mean, like drinking beer is fun. Like why do people drink Bud Light? To have fun. And why do people play games? To have fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's a pretty easy connection. They were the first vote on that.
Well, and even having the one noun in your community, you're saying, hey, we've now had our treasury funded. We're going to be doing cool shit with our treasury, with our niche part of what we do with nouns and the things that we believe in. And we're going to dedicate our community to also now voting in the nouns props.
Yeah.
That is what is missing for me right now is like, I want to see NounsDAO Amigos voting for props.
Yeah.
I want to see food nouns coming in and saying, hey, we want to do this and vote for this prop. Like,
Yeah.
I want to, I hear,
diversity of voices.
well, I hear these opinions all the time.
Yeah.
I hear what everybody in these communities thinks about each prop. Like, why wouldn't that be taken to a level where they actually got to put the vote in?
Well, the truth of the matter is that there's people who are afraid. And there's people who are overly controlling of the situation, and
Can you pass me the water?
they want
Sorry.
to
Thank you.
again brought to you by
That's
they you know, I get it. Like, you invest a ton of money into these things. That's a big decision. You
Yep.
want to own that, and it might be difficult to consider giving a voice to people that can't afford those.
Mhm.
And, I acknowledge that. But as any intelligent person knows, like, sometimes people get lucky when they make money. Sometimes people buy tokens when they first come out. Good that they were there early in different ecosystems. Good for you that you were there early to Ethereum. But at the end of the day, like, does that make you smarter than someone? No. Does that make you a better idea person? Absolutely not. Does that mean that you're going to vote like better than someone? No, not at all. And so, we are really missing out on vibrancy. One of the things that struck us being in Brazil, in Sao Paulo especially, was the amount of Japanese culture there.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of different cultures from around the world. Even in New York, we talked about that. And it's like, what do you have at the end of the day when you don't have diversity of thoughts and people and ideas? You have this homogenous thing that just is not as interesting, and it's not going to produce the same type of result. And I think that, we need to be careful to not be insular and to not
Well, the subcommunities are the
yeah.
proof of the decentralization.
Correct.
And think about this, like, let's say, for example, like Filipino nouns. You guys are going to have a better idea about what you're doing in the Philippines or around the world with your Filipino community. And NounsDAO Japan is going to have a better idea of the current state of crypto in Japan. And NounsDAO Amigos is going to understand the crypto community in Mexico City. And Food Nouns is going to have a better understanding of the food industry in general because of the people that are coming into it and want to build with food. Like, it's like the niches are the expertise
Correct.
that nouns needs. Like,
Correct.
They are the experts of their own communities. Like, and I do see you here, Boss J Crypto, there's no movement within Filipino nouns right now too. I think a lot of the subcommunities are really feeling that as well. And, what I do know to be true is that even the small rounds that have happened with Prop House and stuff too, and the auctions within these small communities, and they are going for a lot lower. Food nouns, for example, like, I don't know what the Treasury is sitting at right now, but
2.6.
2.6. But again, I'll bring back the importance of highlighting what the communities have done so far with this small amount of funding that they've received, like experts in their niche. And it is an honor and a privilege, I believe, for nouns, the big nouns, to have these communities having these discussions. Even OTG has sort of become this like subcommunity on its own, except like I feel like we're gotta be
Well,
almost like
even-
the voice of like all of the
Yeah.
subcommunities.
I mean, like even like we with Malcolm,
Mhm.
like
yes.
that's a great example, right? And when we were originally crafting the prop for months, we were
Mhm.
talking about does does OTG need to be a pod, and does this pod act in a way that uh, funds IRL in a less resistance heavy way, via multi-sigs and committees and yada yada. And I still think that that's something that does need to happen. I think that, at the time, I think that we made the correct decision to postpone that, because what it's allowed us to do is to go to these events and
Mhm.
to see this event needs this event needs this event needs that. And like, yes, like that experience is very, very valuable. And so I think OTG
Well, it's given
in
us
this,
the opportunity to actually like meet
yeah,
subcommunities in person
yeah,
to see the importance of the pod. The pod would have just been like a concept before what it could be now. But also the pod, we don't want to like take away from the pods that already exist, which are these subcommunities. Like that, and not only are they pods, these communities aren't just being run by
I do want to
multi-sigs.
say they're a little different.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're being run by auctions. They are fully decentralized
Yeah.
DAOs that have treasuries that could be funded. And OTG couldn't provide that at the time. It would have just been a multi-sig. OTG is not a DAO. But
Maybe it should be.
OTG has become, yeah, but I also don't want to like take away from the DAOs that currently exist. Like that's the big thing for me. Like maybe OTG is just has kind of accidentally become this thing that could be like the mouthpiece that shares all of the things that are happening within these sub DAOs, that starts a movement that supports the funding, like the active
OTG
funding of
needs-
these communities.
OTG needs to become a correspondence network similar to like the Associated Press.
I completely agree. And like, we really want to start implementing also like news that happens. And I really want, if you guys are watching right now in a sub community, please, if something happens in your community, tell us, DM us immediately so we can share that. NounsDAO Amigos is a perfect example. We got to meet Andrea. If you've been kind of watching her streams, we've been sharing. She always shares with us, hey, I'm having a dance competition. Like nouns are coming. I'm going to be wearing noggles. We talked about that on the stream. We shared her flyer. We told everybody the area that she was going to be in. Hey, are you in East Hollywood?
Yeah.
If you are on this date, go watch Andrea. She's part of NounsDAO Amigos. Like, we can be that correspondence mouthpiece for sub communities. Like, please let us know if you have a prop going up, if you're doing a prop house that's live, if you have someone in your community that's doing something. I don't care. If you're in the running club and you're running on Tuesday in this one part of the city, let us know where you're going. Like, so we can tell people, if you're here in this community, like, go to this running club.
The run was so fun. I think there was probably 15 of us
I'll
running.
pull up the photo actually, because it's just so good.
It was really great. We ran, I don't know how to say it in Japanese, but it translates to Duck River. And there were quite a few ducks. And the river was really gorgeous. It runs right through the middle of Kyoto. And
Look at this photo, guys.
yeah, it was wonderful. We were running and we were running. It was
And look, everyone's wearing noggles. Are you freaking kidding me?
extremely humid. Japan is way more humid than I had ever expected. It was very humid, but like not raining yet. It did start to rain right when we finished the run. Literally, as we were putting noggles on and taking pictures, the rain started. So that was nice. We got lucky with the timing on that. But
Ooh, Wiley says OTG has an associate in each sub-DAO to report back to the news. That's
Ooh,
amazing.
amazing.
Rocket Man can build out the content platform. That is so cool. Yes,
Smart.
that's the whole point of being like, hopefully we wanted to try to maybe implement that with Malcolm's World, who has been doing like OTG interviews on the ground in Africa. Like, it'd be so cool to like have these live streams and be like, and now to you, Malcolm's World. Like,
Dude, I would
who's
love
on the
that.
ground in Africa. Like, and now to you, Wiley, on the ground in Chicago. Like, what do you got going on today?
Yeah.
Like, it really should be that. And like, we can build out.
It's a great idea, Wiley.
We have like the know-how to build out this channel to be like the news. And I've kind of always had a vision for it being like that.
Now you're gonna have to work on your newscaster hair. Like I love that
This is my vibe.
Ariana high pony thing. Shout out to my girl Ariana.
Okay, it was
But,
humid
like,
today, you guys. I didn't. No.
Can I get that big newscaster hair, Aubtoshi? Like the curls
Yes, and a
and
little
like
bit more of the voice.
like a cheesy
Hi.
like kind of suit thing.
Well, you know what? Okay, to
I'm
be
just kidding.
honest,
Please do not wear a suit.
I mean,
I mean,
careful
you
what
can.
you
You
careful what
can.
you wish for. But truly, so when we were doing the live stream at ETH Waterloo, I was even getting like, if you guys haven't seen it yet, like just go and just kind of scroll through. Just like
I'm going to
watch
be
one
wearing
interview.
Hawaiian shirts for the next 3 weeks, I think.
You should do that. Just go through, watch one interview. The way that was set up, we had the chat here. If we were sitting it like this, we really like this style of sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, I like
now. Like it's gotten better, but it feels a little bit more like you're at something like a sports game or something.
Yeah.
But people, like even really good friends of mine within the DAO, like Prof Worder and stuff, she's like, oh my God, this format is the best that OTG has done. Like you have to keep running with this format. And I completely agree. So we had people who have been kind of watching and knowing what we're building. They like that. I really liked the format of it. Like I do see it like kind of going in that direction. Because you know what, we're not. I look at, and there's other influencers on Twitter. I don't necessarily consider myself an influencer. I just am a person that is obsessed with nouns and nounish people.
A nouns fluencer, that didn't work.
Yeah, maybe we'll work on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do see other influencers that have these live streams, and like I click on them and be like, okay, what are these guys doing? And they're just like in hoodie. Okay, I'm not shaming anyone. Everyone has their own style, but they're just like in their rooms in hoodies doing whatever. But like we can be so much more than that. Like we can really step it up. Like I've really always wanted, like, I know I'm not saying I like agree with the politics of this show or whatever, and everyone has their own opinion, but like, you know, CNN, I really see it being like that. Like OTG, like the whole point is on the ground. That's why I dropped the nouns from nouns on the ground, because it's more broad than that. And I want OTG to expand to be talking about all of Web3. And of course, nouns is the basis. Of course, this prop in this live stream and nouns on the air is sponsored by Nouns, but there's something about OTG that's like, you could be on the ground talking about anything. Like,
well, it's
Wiley,
interesting. I mean, it's literally
on
what we talked about earlier, as far as like, there's, you know, the main DAO and then there's the sub DAOs. And like by taking nouns out of the OTG, it's not that we aren't nounish anymore. It's not like we aren't talking about nouns, but it does make it so that it can be, you know, little nouns on the ground, NARs on the ground, food nouns on the ground,
or like,
Brazilians on the ground.
We check in with Wiley and he's in Chicago. Maybe
Exactly.
he's doing a hackathon and it has nothing to do with nouns. Who knows?
Right.
But like, if we can be the place that people come to hear about the culture and communities of all of Web3.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, our big expertise right now is with nouns and nouns communities, of course. But I really see it becoming like a bigger thing than that. And, you know, we want to continue to expand out on these ideas. That's why we do want to implement guests, but it'd be really awesome to figure out ways to kind of have that news feeling where people are out in the field and stuff and like can report back to us.
Are we going to get
those
I love it. Like windbreakers, and then we'll send someone to Florida during a hurricane and they can like fake leaning into the wind, like,
well, imagine this. Okay, so that's hilarious. But imagine like, you know, there's some major event in the US going down in Florida. So we'd be like, okay, who do we know in our community that's in Florida? We could literally be like, how far are you away from this? Like, go there right now. We will go live right now to see what's happening. Like, not putting anyone in danger, but you guys know what I mean. Like, it's a massive opportunity with our network, who's already on the ground around the world. And I think every single continent, like, it's already an opportunity for us to have people kind of, and us live reporting on things happening. Like,
well, we should also do it so that there's
world.
like 5 or 6 people all like on the live stream, and we could be like, okay, now we're going to Chicago, now we're going to Africa, now we're going to Brazil, now we're going to India, you know, and like kind of like toggle back and forth. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, I do too. And yeah, I think highlighting Web3
but
is great.
again, like those things take organization and they take time, they take resources,
of course,
you know, and
but I do feel like going in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like that's what's happening. You know, it felt like that from our first time that we did interviews was at like sit down interviews with the microphones, like with my little roadcaster too, like outside of what I was originally doing before my prop pass, which is going out in the streets, and I had my microphone, and we had like an iPhone, which all of it's great. However, you can capture and share content is amazing.
Mhm.
But we had really like
I
stepped
love
it up to
I love
a different
filming with an
level
iPhone.
with the microphones and stuff. So the first sit down interviews we had was in NFT Paris. And our first interview, thank you, Cheffo, for making this happen, was with the French Minister of Technology, Jean-Noel Barrot. You guys look him up, Jean-Noel Barrot. Oh, actually, it's like a main interview that's on my channel. Let me see if I can like post that link here. I'll do that for you guys in the chat. But like that to me was a signal. Those are the types of people we can talk to. He was literally at the event promoting the importance of NFTs for innovation in the French community. And here, I got the link right here. I'm going to post it right here in the chat, guys. I've shoved this interview down people's throats because I really believe that like this is the way, like this is the future. But the fact that this was our very first interview ever in this style is an indicator that this is what we should be doing. You know?
Looks like
I
you
don't know.
froze.
No, I paused it so we don't have the sound coming through.
Ah.
Just so I can have the chat up here because it's so hard to see the chat in between us, like on the screen. It's just a little bit too small. So I just pull up the actual chat here. But that interview is like showing us like what we could be doing,
Yeah,
it's just so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And
it's
we have
all
a major
about
opportunity to be that in Web3 because there is no one doing that. Like, of course, you have your awesome streams like crypto banter and stuff too, but these guys are talking money. They're talking numbers. They're looking at charts. I will never be that person. I can't be that person. That's not my area of expertise. Chef was pretty good at charting and stuff too, but my area of expertise is sitting down with a person and trying to understand what they do in the community. What community are they a part of? Like, I love interviewing people. I love hosting people. I'm just like a kind of a hostess in general. Like, that is what I can do. And so I've been trying to build this around what we are good at. And it's really become more and more clear as we go around the world to these different communities that we are the people that can do that. Like, we can interface with anybody.
well, and I think there's a lot of people that can do that, and that's the point that we're making is that there is talent all over. There's voices, there's things happening all over, and
Totally.
we can only cover so much. Like we cover where we are, or where we're going next, or where we've been, and all wonderful. But like, yeah, it would be amazing. It's kind of like if a news station only had 2 reporters, and so. Yes, I do think that there's this big opportunity to kind of expand in that direction, and yes, bring that web and allow that web to spread.
Yes.
It's all very cool. It's all very like it's very theoretical, but it's also very not.
No,
like,
it's not. It's real. It's going to happen.
It's very real.
And it's so, thank you guys also for like going through this with us and giving your input. Like, this has been on my mind. Like, you just could not even imagine. Like, when we're not live streaming, when we're not in a Twitter space, like, all we're doing is thinking about what are we shooting next for this documentary? Who are we highlighting? Who are we talking to next? What video do we have to edit? What interview do I need to make happen? Like, and one of those things that I'm always thinking about, like, is the subcommunities. We talk about this all the time, Cheffo and I.
Yeah.
We are always thinking about, like, well, what is the next step for these communities to get funded? Because, of course, as we all know it, we're not idiots. Things cannot happen if there's no money for things to happen.
No.
This used to be a conversation we used to have in food nouns, which I'm sure any subcommunity member watching right now of any community knows that they have the same conversation, where there's always going to be that time that happens where, how can you have expectations of people to do anything when they're not being funded? How can we watch another group over there be funded, or a person be funded for the work they're putting in, and then expect someone over here to do the same amount or more work and not be funded at all? It doesn't make any sense. It's not practical. People need funding. Things cost money. Us going around the world costs plane tickets and accommodation. Us doing a live stream cost this and that camera that we're talking through to. Like, things have hard costs to them, and people need to be paid for what they do and the work that they put forth. And I've just been like plagued by these like, thoughts of like, well, how are we going to do this? Not just for like food nouns and communities that we're heavily involved in, but like all communities that have been proven to be like collaborating with each other deserve this. And I just cannot stop thinking about it. I just like really need you guys to know that. And I'm sure it's been on your guys' mind too, based on the comments that I'm seeing here. And so I do think that instead of like communities kind of asking for something on their own, it's going to be this collaborative effort of all the communities kind of coming and standing together and saying, hey, here's hundreds of us all doing stuff and already have done stuff. All the subcommunities have proven themselves, right?
Well, and maybe it's like, maybe it's, maybe it's like a committee and maybe the money doesn't go, I don't know, like, I definitely see it both ways, right? So, like, if there are communities that are using on-chain mechanisms that have voting and have that transparency, yeah, I think, and on some level, it's like safer to put it in the Treasury than to rely on a multi-sig.
Of course.
In some situations, there might be communities that are like ready for growth that are not fully on chain. And so that might take additional mechanisms. And so maybe there's some type of committee or something that like works with those communities. I don't really know how it will go, and I think that there's going to have to be a lot of smart people, lots of different voices, different versions of everything. But yeah, I think that having $54 million in the Nouns Treasury and having a lot of the vibrancy of the Nouns community coming from everyday people from all around the world, and having that go unacknowledged is strange. And like relying on just things to come through Nouns Treasury is inefficient. And like part of Web3 is about creating efficiencies.
Well, exactly how we discussed how like everyone has their own niche of what they're experts in, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of, you can use a lot of different metaphors and stuff for it, but yeah, at the end of the day, I think that we're missing out on major things, minor things, medium-sized things. We're missing out on tons of opportunities by having these sub-communities go unfunded, and the funds are there. It doesn't really make sense. And, the only justification that someone would have is like that you can't afford a big noun or something like this. And like, I don't know. Okay. I personally have a lot of strong feelings about this.
I do think that is like maybe an older thought, and I think we are heading towards the right direction.
Yeah.
I think that this conversation is a fantastic like start. Not just, I know that everybody else has been already thinking about this stuff the same way we have, but it's a great start in us all coming together. And I think that in the meantime, while we continue to develop this idea, this is my suggestion for everybody. Yeah. If you're in a subcommunity, the best thing you could do right now, while this idea is being developed and while we continue to discuss this as a community of communities, which is so freaking cool, by the way, is going to be that every single time you do something, make sure you get a photo of it, get some type of video, put out a post. Goodness. No, we literally need the content. The content is so valuable because when we get this idea of like finalized together, if we all continue to want to push forward in that direction, getting to share those things is going to be so important.
When was the last time that you saw a picture of a bunch of actual noun holders together doing something cool? I don't even know if I've seen one, to be completely honest about that. Like, if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know of one. And I think that's a fair assessment. And so all the content that we're seeing, all the Noggle pictures, all the high fives, the fist pumps, the peace signs, all of that is
The running club
coming
photos.
out of the sub community.
Wiley says he needs a prop to fund a personal cameraman. That's hilarious. I'm not saying like you have to get on camera every single time, but if you're out there and there's Noggle somewhere, like take a freaking photo. Like I'm getting better at this too. It's taken a long time.
If you have a phone, you have a camera.
If you have a phone, you have a camera.
Yep. Unless you're like my mother.
If you're in a if you're in a Twitter
she probably
space,
actually has one on that little flip phone.
if you're in a Twitter space, screenshot it. Share it in a post.
Ooh, I like that.
Show us the people that are in there.
I like that.
Like there's just all these little things that we can all do.
Use AI. Make something with AI.
Use AI. We definitely, because we have the cameras and because we have been filming some sub-communities doing these activations. For example, we're about to put out a video of the Nouns Brazil crew and us going and doing a large mural in Rio de Janeiro. We are gonna put an effort into like having like a live stream where we all watch that together. We'll make sure it's shareable, that everybody knows the same date. Like there's things that we can definitely lead the charge on as far as content creation because we already have this platform. We're already on the ground. But I really think that as we start collecting like, hey, what has each subcommunity already done? What props have they already had on chain? What props have they gone through Prop House? Like as we start collecting that, like the more content, the better. And, perfect example. Andrea from NounsDAO Amigo says that Leo, who you guys might see, he's like the little, I want to say it's a zebra or something. I don't know if it's a zebra. I don't think there's zebras in NounsDAO Amigos. It's a cute thing. And maybe a burro. A donkey.
Un burro.
Yeah. Did you know that? Of course, you know Spanish a little bit.
I just said it.
Okay. He goes around and they were telling us like he talks about nouns non-freaking stop in like basically no one except the people in their community know about that. Like Wiley, I know I see you in food nouns every single day, like talking about it. Like we've got to find some way to like highlight these individuals in these communities. Like I think the important part about this prop is not only going to be like, oh, what props have they already funded? Like what projects and stuff. It's going to be like what people are in these sub communities that are out there all the time doing this like on their own fruition.
I just had a really good like realization as well. So like let's say that something like this happens, right? And like sub communities get funded by the main DAO. It's also going to be like a motivation for noun holders to come buy tokens in the sub communities because then they're gonna get to help influence where that ETH goes. And so I think that's like
that's really smart.
That's like a positive externality from it. It's like, okay, let's fund it and then come join these communities. Like
that's so smart.
I think
See, guys, we didn't even necessarily like want to have. We went in today and we're like, we'll do an ETH Waterloo wrap up and kind of get people ready for the Japanese Kyoto talk for tomorrow. But
why did this conversation start? It's because of NounsDAO Amigos and OTG being at the event and creating the only space in the event that was like I don't know how to say it, but like
interactive,
fun,
vibey,
calm, vibey,
supportive.
Like, basically,
excited.
like if this was the event, like there was devs kind of in the middle, there was devs upstairs. It was this open kind of atrium thing, but there was pretty much just like tables in the middle, and then along the outside you had, I would say, 10, maybe less, like 5 to 10 on each side, companies trying to explain their product, whether it was an L2 solution, some type of DID solution, some type of wallet solution, who knows what, some type of solution. And like, they each had 2 or 3 little reps in their booth and they're handing out swag and they're trying to like, kind of like balkers, like they're like, hey, come on into my booth, let me tell you about this. And like, but at the end of the day, like no one was sitting in there in the Nouns booth saying like trapping people walking by and saying, hey, have you heard about Nouns? Like it was not that.
People came on their own.
People came on their own, and it was just completely organic, completely natural, completely human. And like that's what Nouns is supposed to be. Like Nouns is supposed to be a way that human beings interact with the blockchain in order to create, however 401 likes to say it, like absurdities, quirks, and all these other things, like the flywheel. And that was the flywheel in motion. And so that really is like why we're having this conversation today, is because we've seen it there. We've seen it in Brazil. We've seen it, in Japan. Like we've seen it in different ways, and had been fortunate enough to interact with it and know how that leaves us at the end of the day. We know we see all the DMs from people. We like VCon was another great example. Like VCon was hyper positive, hyper entrepreneur, hyper community. And when we went, we went to this house party one night and with all these vegans, and it was like they loved nouns. They loved the mechanisms. They loved the camaraderie. They loved the spirit of it, and they loved the noggles. They loved the symbolism, and it was an opportunity to connect that group with nouns. And we're kidding ourselves if we think that wouldn't continue to happen over and over and over again if we support the ecosystem. I think that for me, it's kind of crazy that like there's only been 300 some props, and like, yes, that's a really good thing because it, there is this steadiness to the balance of like what comes in and what comes out. And I personally am of the school of thought that like nouns, I think it's gonna always be a flow, and it could very easily, and I'm sure that there's charts out there, analytics that kind of show that, like, okay, this month proportionally versus this month proportionally. And it is healthy to have the Treasury maintain itself and not dip down too low, but it's also unhealthy for it to not facilitate things. And I think it's all relative, but like there's definitely a world out there where there could be twice as many props having gone through nouns as we've seen.
Well, or a world where there's props going out in 10 different communities.
Sure.
All day long. And, that's what I think we're really getting down to here. Boss Jay, I do see your idea here that should you create a group chat for nouns builders and nouns community. We've always wondered too, like, what is the best way to do that? I don't know if I have the right answer yet. I don't know if that's on Twitter, if that's on Discord, or if that's on Telegram. I'm not quite sure, but I do think that we're heading in the right direction by having this conversation. I think we should all continue to have this conversation together. Yeah. I think maybe as we start reaching out and saying—
in the open.
Yes, and in the open.
Recorded spaces, documented, the whole nine.
Yeah, and maybe like we have a big sub-community Twitter space to kind of kick off this idea to see who would be interested in almost— and of course, here's the thing.
Or everyone, a set of Twitter spaces, like multiple,
Yes, but like this is what I know to be true. So you guys are here and you guys are talking about these things right now, but there's always going to be community members that are just excited to be in their community, and that's fine. And then you're going to have your people that are like really wanting to take initiative in their community. So maybe we start with Twitter spaces to see like, okay, who's going to be like the 1 to 2 to 3 people from each of these sub communities that really wants to like spearhead, like getting all the information together for that community. Maybe I think building in the open Twitter spaces is the best thing for that.
Yeah.
We'll work on maybe like we'll all just coordinate and talk together. I'm not quite sure the best way to do that, but we are very much active on Twitter and stuff if you guys want to DM. But maybe we start doing that and kind of like seeing, okay, well, so which sub communities would be interested in an idea like this?
Maybe it's a TNS soapbox, and like
just a full-blown sub communities.
Yeah, it's a sub community soapbox. Like that sounds exactly what it should be, to be completely honest.
Yeah,
and
I
like
really love that.
Using that.
Oh,
platform.
I also saw, Boss Jay, I was like looking at your Twitter. I just followed Pinoy Nouns and I saw that you have nouns on the road.
What?
I would love to learn more about that.
Cruising.
We all have such similarities, and like just, we are going to start closing down this live stream today. But I do want to just say that something that I have just so realized is that as we travel around and meet all of these different people from around the world, like literally most times, like the only difference is maybe a potential language barrier,
Yeah.
which is so just easily dissolvable because we have these translate apps and we have someone translating at the time or something. Like language is nothing, but like when you get down to it, like as much as we have differences or in different parts of the world, like the fact that we can all come together and have these like similar conversations, like we have a lot of similarities, guys. Our heads are all in the same space. We have different like same goals and stuff or like broader goals, and I really feel that way about the sub communities. The sub communities that we've been able to interface with IRL have this exact same feeling.
Yeah.
We've seen the struggles and we've lived them ourselves with a sub community of Food Nouns that's about to have its first food anniversary. So it's been around for a year. I know the other sub communities that have grown over this last year are feeling the same growing pains that we have felt within Food Nouns. But I do believe that this is going to change because like we will be the ones pioneering that change. And the only change that has to happen is this like united front. I hate like sounding so like that sounds like a very political term, like united front, but like truly like us all uniting together.
Well, it's going to take a big effort, you know, and
Yeah.
like again, like not to be, I don't know, like Debbie
Yeah.
Downer or any of these things, but I'll give you an example. So Food Nouns has a payment splitter, and 25% of it goes to the NounsDAO Treasury. And literally in front of some of the founders of the DAO, NounsDAO and stuff, I said, guys, do you know that like Food Nouns was the very first ever other project or other mechanism to ever put ETH into the treasury outside of the DAO auction? And some of them did not know that. And when I designed that payment splitter and when we deployed that, the idea was that like, okay, let's say someone comes and buys a Food Noun for an ETH or whatever the price is, that they would know that part of that is going to the main DAO. And like for whatever reason, like maybe we didn't market that enough or whatever, that was like lost on people. And so again, for me, that's, and I can only speak from my personal experience, like that's an example of like the current state of affairs, you know, like there are these incredibly well-meaning groups and people that may even have smart contract mechanisms in place to work with other communities, and it's just not quite happening. And we'll have to continue this conversation, but I think that
it's a great start, and
I
it's
think
great
that
to hear from you guys as well.
This prop would really cause a lot of people to like open their eyes to the fact that like, guys, there's a lot more going on than what's just happening in the main DAO.
Oh, there's a lot, and I think it's going to be the way that we can all learn a little bit more about each other as well.
Yeah.
I've really, really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Love it.
I want to continue it. I truly do want to help lead
What is this button
the
do?
proposal.
Ooh.
Ooh, magic.
Wait, is that a bird?
Do you have any final words before we close down the stream?
I do, Aubtoshi. You have to press it to turn off.
Yeah.
Okay, no, there you go. Tamajunto, Aubtoshi. Tamajunto.
What does that mean
It's
for people who don't know?
It's short for Estamos Juntos. It's Brazilian like text slang essentially. For it means we're all together, and so you can kind of like say it to someone when you're hanging out, but they also use it as a way to say goodbye to each other, which basically means like even though we're apart, we're together. And I think that
I really love that.
like that is what we're talking about here. Like we are all together in this thing. We are a family of nouns and other types of nouns. We are a diverse group of people that speak many languages, that look very different, that eat differently, that, you know, travel differently, that use the internet differently, but we're also like very much the same and very much together. And I think that it's time that the Nouns shows that, and it's time to do things like this to move the conversation forward in the correct way. And I think that's, for me, those are that's just from it's not the lesson of the day for me. It's like the lesson of the season. You know, Tamajunto for me really like was significant to learn that. And yeah, Brazil has that vibe. You know, one of the most incredible moments from ETH Waterloo was when NounsDAO amigos and like many other amigos came, and there was like 40 people singing in Spanish, and it wasn't just one song. It was like a song, then another song, then another song. And it was loud. Like, it was loud. There was people singing like with gusto. Like, and there's like hackers over here like, what the hell is going on over there? You know, in that crazy nouns world. But like, it was a very special moment. And again, just another example. And like, we could go down the list of all the different examples, and kind of to my point earlier, like that community, that vibrancy, those visuals that you're seeing on Twitter every day, they're coming from these specific groups. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that.
I love that. Tamajuto to everybody watching this stream. This is Nouns in the Air with Aubtoshi and Cheffo. We are live every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at an undetermined time. It's always a surprise, so make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube because you will be notified when we're live. And of course, make sure you're following at OTGWTF on Twitter because we always put out a little tweet about an hour before we go live. I'm not sure what time we're going to go live again tomorrow, but we are on a whole different time zone. We're on the opposite side of the world, and we're actually in the future.
I think I'm going to bed now.
So we've actually been on, it's our Friday, and tomorrow's going to be our Saturday, but it will be a lot of your guys' Friday. So we will be live again tomorrow. We are so happy to be able to do this show live with everybody here. We really appreciate you guys participating and chatting with us.
Yeah, great chat today.
It's a true joy of ours. We love being here. We love Nouns on the Air, and we really love the Noun Subcommunities. So this has been about you guys today. Thank you guys for everything that you guys are doing for Nouns and for your own communities. And we will see you tomorrow. Let's keep this conversation going. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I do want to bring in some history about Kyoto tomorrow. So stay tuned if you want to hear about this ancient city that's been around for thousands of years. Can you believe it?
Are you going to share some of these cool pictures you've been taking?
Oh, yeah. My birdography.
No, like all of it, not just the birds. She loves the birds.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a great evening, afternoon, or